What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and welcome to episode 20 of The Knife Guy. That's right, there have been 20 episodes of this series. Thanks so much to everybody who's been, talking with me and been supporting this series and supporting my channel. If you're new to this series or you're new to my channel, or you just came out of some random corner of the internet, I am a knife guy alongside a lot of the people who watch my channel in this series. I am an enthusiast, I'm a collector, I'm a knife user, and I've been kind of in this world for a long time, and I've experienced a bunch of different things that many of the people who watch this series also experience. Knife guys and gals from all walks of life. We all take our own unique paths, but along those paths, they intersect and we all share common experiences in one way, shape, or form. In this series, I like to talk about those experiences. At the same time, I like to pick up a lot of stuff. Usually what's on the table is a combination of my own stuff and some of the stuff that I've received from either manufacturers throughout the week or generous viewers who have allowed me to review their stuff. And I just pick them up and flip them, and I give people something to sit back and listen to, whether you are relaxing on your couch Sunday afternoon or whether you're driving or whatever you're doing. Those of you who are actually able to view can view me just fidgeting around. But those of you who can only listen will have something to listen to. That's kind of what I like to do. Today's topic is going to be the first topic that it is going to be a little bit hard to hear. You know, a little bit hard of a little bit of a difficult issue to face for a lot of us who are completely and totally addicted. This topic was recommended actually by a couple different people. It's the idea of when enough is enough. When you have reached the point of all-out total addiction, when it's actually affecting your life, basically how to recognize when enough is enough. And a lot of you are looking and going, and by the way, everything that's on the table is mine, whether I paid for it out of my pocket or acquired it, as a gift from either my wife or some of my generous viewers. These are all my knives. It's not my entire collection. And a lot of you might be thinking, somebody who has that many knives and a lot of those are really expensive, you're going to talk to us about knowing when enough is enough. I'm going to try. I'm going to try. And so before I had the channel, I'm just so you guys know, I'm not wealthy. I'm happy with the career path I've chosen, and so is my wife, and we're happy. We're not ultra wealthy, and I certainly could never afford all of this stuff. Truthfully, what my collection looked like before the channel was maybe I might have something like this, and something like this, and maybe this. I might have 3 and 1 Hinderer. And that would have been those would have been the knives that I paid for out of my own pocket. Now, what I do all the time, I'd love to tell people that I'm so good about collecting and buying and selling and trading, which I did a lot of on the forums for many years, that I never, I never had to pay any extra out of pocket. A lot of times I would keep my knives in such good shape, knowing that eventually I'd get bored with them, and buy a new knife. And that came from, my need to protect everything came from that ZT-0562 that I always talk with you guys about, my first really nice knife. I had collected knives for years before that, but my first really big purchase after the Kershaw Blur, after the Benchmade Barrage, my first really big purchase was a ZT-0562 CF. I skipped the G10 version, went right for the CF. Love that thing. Made it my everyday carry knife. And I used it, I babied it a little bit, but I hadn't become a total, full-blown knife guy where I was like protecting the more expensive, more capable stuff and, using the more budget stuff. That kind of ironic area that a lot of us end up in. I was using it. I remember distinctly coming out of the house that we lived in at that time, and I had it in my hand, and I was running the car, and I dropped it down multiple concrete steps and onto the concrete, and it was just, I could almost hear it screaming as it tumbled across and just, and I picked it up, and all across this spine, scratches, across the pocket clip, scratches, the carbon fiber was marked up, and And I was like, oh God. And it felt like all $250, just went out the window. The reality was is that the knife was still completely usable. If you remember last week's episode, we talked about the feeling of the first scratch. And you're like, oh, dang it. Oh, well, awesome user, I realized at that point I had done a little teeny tiny bit of buying, selling, and trading. And what I noticed is on the forums and the aftermarket, people really want those knives to be in excellent condition, right? When people say, like new in box, a lot of people, what they mean is like new in box to me. I mean, yeah, it's been used a little bit, and sure, there's a nick on the pocket clip, but it's basically like new in box. That's not what like new in box means. Like new in box means like this. This XM18 that I've done nothing but flip and just, basically, yeah, I've put the new scale on it. Actually, here'd be a better example. Imagine one of my XM18s, but I hadn't even removed the front scale. I hadn't adjusted anything. People don't even want it to be taken apart, right? That's how you're going to get the most. You're not going to get all of your money back. People who take advantage of the secondary market with the Sprint Run Spydercos, the really rare XMs, or really rare anything, and some people are willing to pay a premium, once you've advertised the knife. Yeah, sure, that does happen, but not often enough for anybody to truly just exist. Their hobby is just extended in this world, and you never have to pay out of pocket. No, you're generally going to take a little bit of a hit on the knife, even if it's a rare version. Let's say I've got a really nice Hinderer that I haven't adjusted, I haven't taken the scale off. I paid $425 for it. I'll give you an exact example. My Gen 6 No Choil Spanto. That one was listed as like new in box, and I described, I had a titanium scale on this at one point, but I was very careful removing the hardware. There are no nicks on anything. I have the original scale, the original box, the original packaging, all that stuff that people want to pay. And I paid $425 for that knife, and I settled on $400. So I lost $25 on the knife plus shipping. That was about the best scenario that I've ever been in with one of my Hinderer knives. And remember, guys, I've had 23 of them. So I've taken a bath multiple times. Much bigger hits than that before. That experience taught me when I went to sell that ZT-0562, I realized nobody wants this. It's all dinged up. I've got people offering me $100 or $120 for it, and I paid $250. Right? Doesn't matter if you got. I know a lot of people will be like, "That's not fair. I paid $250 for this." You used it, but it's a knife. It's supposed to be used. Doesn't matter. Secondary market decides the price. That's how it is. So I could sit there and be all upset about it, me wanting my knife to be all new and shiny, or I could just deal with it. So from that point forward, I was like, all right, when I buy a knife, I got to be extra careful with it. These people don't even want it to be used. So the ZT-0562 at the time continued to be a user. But I still wanted more knives, right? So I was like, I'll buy one more, keep it. I'll keep it as a safe queen, just something shiny. What do I want? Well, my very next purchase, was, it was a major jump up. It was a Microtech Combat Troodon. I decided I wanted an OTF automatic, not a side opening automatic. I wanted one that came out the front. And as far as I could tell from reading about everything on the forums and what people were saying, Microtech was making the most desirable OTFs. So I was like, well, I want a large one. So blah, blah, blah. I end up finding a Microtech Combat Troodon, the big one that's like 9 1/4 inches, OTF, double-sided dagger blade, satin finish. It was in LMAX at the time. And it was like, I remember the date. It was May of 2014. May of 2013 or 2014 was what it said on it. And I bought it at Empire Outfitters for $365. He had it listed at $400, and he gave me a discount. I don't know why. They're a lot more expensive nowadays, guys. They're like $475 or something like that. So that was a great deal. Still way more money than I had ever spent on a knife, right? So I had it. Just enjoyed it, opened and closed it, legitimately never used it, kept the box, kept the paperwork, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, at some point, I was like, okay, I want a different knife now. This is in perfect shape. I should be able to get at least $350 back out of this, right? Nope. Nope. At the time, I think what I actually got out of it was $300. And so I took a bath on it again. But then I had $300, right? If I take another $150 out of this next paycheck, I'll have $450, and I can buy an even better knife, right? Better. Around this time, it was around 2013, 2014, whenever it was that I sold that knife, that was when I got my hands on my first Hinderer. And if you've been watching my channel since it started, you'll be able to tell, you'll hear me reference different dates. I get mixed up on the different, I've handled and I've bought, sold, and traded so many different knives. My knife guyness, my footsteps in this world, truly in this world, probably began 12 to 13 years ago. But as far as my seriousness, like where I stepped over that $200 line, that's been with me for about 6 years, right? What is it, 2019? Yeah, it's like 2000. So it started somewhere between 2012 and 2013. So that's how long that's been going on. So right around this time that I sold this, I was like, I want that Hinderer, because I bought the 0562 thinking like I can't get a freaking Hinderer for anything less than like $700 right now. I bought the 0562, then dropped it and scratched it, and then I was like, dang it, and then I was like, well, I still can't find one, and so I bought the Combat Troubadour, and then by the time I decided to sell that, I remember Arizona Custom Knives, for whatever reason, had a brand new Hinderer XM18 3.5-inch Gen 4 Spanto for sale for $425. Now, generally, Arizona Custom Knives deals only in, knives that are left as consignment. They're somebody else's, but they're listed in whatever condition they are. And then whatever people want to list them as, in terms of the price, they come up with that. And then sometimes they're higher or lower than whatever they were at retail, depending on how rare they are. And then Arizona Custom Knives takes a cut of it, right? For whatever reason, this Hinderer was listed as brand new, not being owned by anybody. I imagine Arizona Custom Knives does deal in a few brand new knives. I don't know if they do it consistently, but I was like, what? So then I had to have that. And I was like, that's going to be my ultimate knife. The XM18 3.5-inch Spanto. That's the one I want. I'm going to get it. It had an OD green scale. I'll never forget that. And I'm never going to need another Safe Queen. I'll just keep using this 0562. Well, I got it, loved it, but that set off the addiction, right? I'm taking you guys down probably down memory lane for yourselves. I'm describing what a lot of us go through. Some people start at a $20 knife, and they go to a $50 knife, and they go to 100, 150, 200, 250. They go, I took a bunch of little tiny jumps, and then I took some huge, massive steps. All I did was open the doors to the true, full-blown addiction. And 23 Hinderers later, and however many knives later that I've handled, I'm here. What I've learned is that this is a freaking expensive hobby, and no matter who you are, somehow I kept finding the financial means and the justifications to acquire more and more and more knives. What I have found out now is that it simply does not end. The only way that this addiction was able to end for me was starting this YouTube channel, bringing you guys content, and then using the channel to generate funds to put back into the channel to bring more content. And the fact that I have, generous viewers offering to let me show their knives, or manufacturers offering to let me review their knives, I get to handle all this stuff, and it really takes the need that, I need a new knife. It really takes that away. And now, my personal acquisitions, and on top of that, gifts from people like Jeff and Harry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these knives out here at least are from Jeff and Harry. Anyways, people like that take the edge off. So I'm not constantly feeling I have to scratch that itch all the time. The itch is constantly scratched running this channel. I have so many knives that are here that to play with and look at. I don't worry as much about my next acquisition. My most recent personal acquisition was this XM18 3.5-inch Wharncliffe, which was was it just reviewed on Friday? I can't remember. All this is pre-recorded. And I love that thing. I've barely had any time to give any attention to it other than what you've seen me play with it on camera. But if not for the channel and everything that I've been able to handle, that thing would have been sold, and I would have had something else, and that would have been sold, and I would have had something else, and that would have been sold. It would have been sold 3 times over by this point right now. And I just got that thing. That's how bad it is. I'll tell you what I think the point is. The point where it's too much. I mean, this is unless you are unbelievably filthy rich. You know, if you're filthy rich and you can have whatever you want, then yeah, you don't have to listen to me. You know, I hope you don't go broke on knives. That would be really sad. If you've got, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars and you go broke on knives, I don't know how you got there. But for the vast majority of us, you know, just regular people, the point where you have a problem is the point where you have your dedicated work knife, right? And then maybe you've got a couple other knives. When you start thinking about what type of condition those other knives have to stay in so that they're ready to sell, and you are prepared to take a hit so that you can purchase the next knife and inevitably have to pull additional money out of your paycheck to pay for it, that's the point where it's already gotten bad. That's the point of no return. If you're at that point, what I can, you know, the best advice I can give you is it doesn't stop unless you're like me and you get lucky and your YouTube channel takes off and you don't have to constantly pay additional money to acquire knives to give you that feeling of satisfaction. Most of the euphoria is the time it takes between the purchase and when the knife actually arrives. The whole Christmas morning thing. I got a knife coming. Tracking says it's on Tuesday. Oh my gosh, I got to get back home. Well, it doesn't really matter what I'm doing at work. I'm going to move my lunch break back so I can get home so I can rip this box open, and you're you know, the euphoria is just exploding and you're ripping this box open and then there it is. And inevitably you start picking it apart and you start finding things to be disappointed with, and then eventually you convince yourself to go ahead and sell it because it's brand new. You haven't used it yet. You can still get X amount out of it, right? 2 weeks, you sell it, and then you start the process over again. That's where the problem is. If you're there, a lot of people say, I'm there, but I don't have a problem. Or, I have a budget that I dedicate to my knife habits, right? Okay, if you're able to do that. I mean, if you're able to do something on the side to generate funds to be able to, you know, enjoy your hobby, and you're also selling knives out of your collection to be able to afford the additional things that you want, and you can do that without affecting your home family life, your social life, your job. You know, if you can do that all, then you have that healthy balance, then great. I have just barely been able to achieve that with this channel. I dedicate a certain amount of time to this channel. I try not to let it affect my family life. It does not affect my work at all. I have different times that I set out to record, things like that. But I have definitely been through this, and I got lucky. You know, this is no different. I mean, yeah, it is. There are definitely more harmful addictions in a sense, but the way that your brain and body respond to acquiring and being addicted to that acquisition, it is very similar to a lot of incredibly serious addictions, and it can absolutely get out of control. I remember thinking at times like, you know, I could totally spend half my paycheck and get this really awesome custom knife. I remember thinking that, and I think that's, you're definitely, you know, it's definitely a problem there. Now, not everybody has the same fortunate situation as me. I don't know that I really have any advice. You know, I mean, channels like mine actually perpetuate this. Like I'm telling you guys, you know, here's the point where you know you have a problem. And next week I've got 7 more reviews of knives that everybody wants, everybody needs, and I'm going to give you a million reasons why. You know, my channel's perpetuating it. So I feel like this episode 20 is almost like I kind of owe it to the people who watch my channel to be like, guys, knives are fun, but you know, pump the brakes every now and then, because believe me, from somebody who's lived that experience, it will definitely start affecting your social life, your family life, your work life if you don't keep it under control. Some people are better or worse at managing that type of thing, and some people probably are able to just say, you know, no, I'm not going to buy a knife this month or this year. I'm going to buy a knife once a year and I'm just going to enjoy it, and that's going to be how it is. You know, some people just have one pocket knife and they just watch channels like mine and they get enough enjoyment out of it that they don't need to do that. That's great. If some of you guys are out there and you watch my channel and you're just like, I just like to see stuff. I don't feel like I need to buy it. It's really cool, but I just like to see it. Hey, that's awesome, man. That's great. I mean, a lot of what I did before I was buying and selling and trading was exactly that. It just eventually got to me. So I guess, I don't know, you know, I guess in conclusion, I think knife collecting and just enjoying this hobby in general, just in getting into kind of the information around everything, learning about metallurgy, learning about different tolerances, deployment methods, and learning about the makers, and just being a part of the community in general, I think it can be healthy. It definitely can. You have to balance it. You have to, I mean, if you know that you're the type of person that's going to need to feed the beast, you're going to need to acquire something new to be happy, then you need to find a way to manage it. It took me, from the time I started this hobby, from the time I started making choices that were putting enormous dents in my paycheck and actually affecting me, it took me like 6 years to figure it out. And I don't even want to think about the amount of money that I spent and was basically wasted. You could say, yeah, but you got the experience, you got the knowledge. That's true. But I didn't know at the time that eventually I was going to use it to create a YouTube channel. And I still don't know. I still feel like I only know the tip of the iceberg. I don't know enough to tell anybody anything. I'm just thankful you guys think I'm entertaining enough to come back and watch, but I don't know. I think that, in terms of everybody's always going to want to experience the new stuff or feel like they're part of the group. A lot of this Knife World stuff is like, I want that because everybody's talking about it right now. And I felt like, I've got enough. I've got a PM2, that's like the best knife that's out there. I've got a Benchmade Griptilian or a Ritter Hogue. That's like the best thing that's out there. Do I really need the Kapara? Everybody says the Kapara is so good. I don't feel like I need it. I don't know. Maybe I do need it. All right. I went ahead and took some extra money out of my paycheck and bought it. And now I've convinced myself that I definitely did need it. That's a problem. You really are just okay with probably just one knife or two knives, and if you have a small collection, maybe you've got 5 knives in your collection and they're all users. It's really easy for me to stand here and say, yeah, you've got plenty of knives, as I'm waving my hands around this. And you're here watching my channel. It's really easy for me to say that. But the truth is, if you're sitting on something like a PM2 or a Ritter Hogue or both, and you're happy with those, that's probably good, And if you want if you want more, or you're interested in expanding, then just make sure that you can put yourself in a situation where you can generate the extra funds required to accommodate for that, and that you're not pulling out of the funds that you and your family or whoever to continue to exist. I looking back now, a lot of my bad decisions were made before I had a family, and that simply would not be able to fly now. It just isn't. So the YouTube channel, and I don't know how it would have ended up. I don't know how I would have been were it not for this YouTube channel. So I guess, ironically, I have all of you to thank for ending the addiction that I actually used to generate the content that you guys watch. Oh God, I've actually not ever gone that deep into my own brain to think about this before, but yeah, that absolutely is the truth. But I don't know. It's up to the individual to decide whether or not you have a problem. And what do they say? It's like the first step is admitting that you have a problem. I think that's a big part of it. But I wasn't able to admit that I had a problem until the YouTube channel. While I was spending excess money, there was no part of me would ever have admitted. I would have just told myself, nah, it's an investment. I'm sitting on so much value here. I could sell all this whenever I want and get all my money back. No, I couldn't. I think on average you take a 15 to 20% loss on everything that you buy. Unless you're exclusively buying the most popular Spyderco sprint runs, and you're there at every single time, and you're very specific about, and people who do that just make everybody else mad anyway. They take advantage of the want or the desire for it. I think it's okay to buy the knife and experience it. Like the CPM M4 Shaman, I bought mine, experienced it, and then I sold it for exactly what I paid for it. I took a loss on the shipping. Because that way, the next guy got an opportunity to experience the same knife, and I got to handle it and play with it for the cost of shipping, and then another guy gets to enjoy that. It's tempting to make money on stuff, but just seeing the negative impact it has on the knife community. So it's like, yeah, even in situations where you can make money and help justify it, you become a pariah of the knife community, you know? So, this has been a long, rambly episode, but we probably all have problems, and each one of us has a more or less severe problem, and it's up to each of us individually to identify exactly how severe that issue is. If you find yourself planning out a chunk of your paycheck to pay for your next knife almost immediately after your most recent acquisition, or you're having to redo the budget that you used to decide, you know, the groceries that you're going to buy this week, or whether or not you're going to make your car payment, you definitely have a problem. Some people are going to be able to laugh at this, and some people are going to be like, ugh, yikes, I feel sick. So I'm sorry if I made you feel sick. I hope that I didn't demotivate you from watching my channel. There's nothing wrong with just enjoying knife content. You never, ever, ever should feel obligated to buy something, even though I've been doing this thing lately where I'm like, hey, if you want to buy this knife and support the channel, then go down in the description and use my Amazon affiliate link. Even when I do that, you can just ignore me. Don't feel obligated. I promise you, you know, the channel's very healthy. I'm very supported. You know, if you're just watching and enjoying my content and that's all you want to do, I hope nobody ever feels obligated to join my Patreon, to buy something. You know, it's nice having that benefit and being able to use those funds to support the channel and keep this going. But my main thing, the thing that brings me happiness the most, is just knowing that there is a growing audience that's enjoying my content. If that's all that I had, I'd be happy. I don't know how I'd pay for everything, but I'd still be happy, you know, to almost completely contradict the entire point of this video. Oh my gosh, we're all crazy, or at least I am. I just feel better about being crazy knowing that I've got a bunch of other crazies watching my content. I mean that in the most positive way possible. I really, really appreciate you guys. And it is comforting knowing that there's an entire community of people out there who feel as strongly about this hobby as I do. Okay, this has been like the longest episode of The Knife Guy. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, or at least found it entertaining or informing or helpful in any way. If it was, or if it did, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do of course have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, then go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe to my channel, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.